All right, big problem of my own doing today. I sent out a tweet that has gotten us into a little bit of a PR nightmare. I wouldn't call it a crisis per se because there's nothing wrong, but I shared some news that has alarmed our partners and employees and investors and all the jazz. So give me a second here. I've been dealing with it all morning, and I will have to deal with it a little bit more this afternoon. You may have seen, and I think some of you know, I live in Austin, Texas. Been living here for 3 years. I'm from New York. But in truth, we came here pretty much to launch Loop, get it off the ground, and I also came here to love Loop, I'd say, love Austin. I wanted to stay here, build community, and kind of just stake out some new ground and grow and so on. Kind of do the same thing that I did in Harlem, but here. And, after 3 years, I just have decided that I like the place, but I don't love this place. This place isn't my home. And now, what do? Well, we have a big Loop Plex here. We put a lot of brand and fanfare into moving here, and we try to get our team to move here, but it just didn't stick, to be honest. We're truly remote. We don't have a real concentration of team members here in Austin. Nobody goes into the office. Of the few people that do live in Austin, they don't go in. We don't really force the issue because who are we to force our customer care team and our frontline team and the one product manager that lives here to go into the office, if they're getting their work done? It just doesn't seem like the world is ready for that just yet. I do know and believe that San Francisco and so on, the kind of these AI hubs are trying to make a big push, but elsewhere in the world, it is, in the tech world anyway, it's not a thing. So, we pretty much looked at that and thought, well, it hit me one day. I don't think I want to be here. I mean, it's not a bad place to be. The quality of life is good. The city's been good to me. The locals are nice. But it doesn't have that charge for me. It doesn't have that diversity. It doesn't have that culture. So I've been ruminating on it and we decided, okay, great. I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move. No big deal. I'll send a tweet out and just kind of share with folks that I'm leaving Austin. I don't know where I'll head to next. So I tweeted the following, and if I'm savvy enough on the editing, I'll try and put the image up here, but no guarantees because I'm not that good of an editor. But essentially I wrote, my time, after 3 years of living here in Austin, my time has come to a close. I came here to stay, to build community, all this kind of stuff, and ultimately just didn't feel like home. The city works for many, didn't work for me. Where to next? I'm not sure. So I took that as a pretty cut and dry announcement about my geographic positioning on this earth. Hey, I'm not going to be in Austin. I'm going to be somewhere else. Who knows? People are moving around all the time. Next thing I know, Carrie, my co-CEO, writes, tells me that one of our angel investors, reached out and said, hey, is everything okay? Is John leaving Loop? And Carrie's like, no, not at all. And so she let me know. And I was like, huh. Yeah, no, not at all. No, there's nothing about the message that gives that sense at all. And I didn't think anything of it and continued about my way. I'm not particularly close with this person, with this angel investor. We don't spend a lot of time, so I figure, he just doesn't have his ears to the streets, so to speak. Next thing I know, I get a text from my reinsurance broker. Hey, where to next? By the way, got a few calls about this, ... Okay. Next thing I know, some of our staff is speculating that is John gonna leave, and it just has turned into a whole thing. And then our reinsurer is like, hey, is John leaving? And I'm like, whoa, this has just been blown way out of proportion. Your boy's not going anywhere, man. I'm locked in. Like, y'all are stuck with me. I didn't even. It's such a non-possibility for me that I didn't even consider that potential optic, to be honest. Like, I'm fucking locked in. Like, I spend all day, every day working on Loop, and I have for the past however long, 3 years, going on 4 now. So I've had to pretty much spend all morning cleaning that up and reaching out to partners, and then partners wanted an update call, and it just has kind of opened up a little can of worms. So that one was I don't want to say a blunder, because I kind of just shared, personal news, but in hindsight, you don't want people to be surprised. You don't want your partners to be surprised. Even if it's a false alarm, I don't like that feeling of like alarm and it's false alarm, and you or your company being associated with that alarm. If it happens enough times, it just kind of creates a visceral physiological response when you hear the name or the term. Like, imagine like a coworker that you don't like, and you have to go into a meeting with them. You kind of have that sense of dread. That's brand, pretty much. And so to the extent to which you can minimize that level of alarm or concern or whatever, even if it's just infrequently, it's better. And the way you can do that is just by socializing the news first to your partners in a one-on-one setting or in an email, and you just let everybody know. You get all the important stakeholders aligned, and then you share out to the public versus, I just kind of shared out and then I didn't make meaning of it and left it out there, to be interpreted in whatever way people wanted to. And, it just took on a life of its own, and it went from staff to investors to partners to the board. And it just like, wow, this is a perfect example of like how being a CEO, there are a lot more considerations than just like, you say what you feel because you're doing business with people, and they have a vested interest in the things that you're doing, and they're going to be watching you, and I still do believe in freedom of expression, individuality, and so on, but it comes with just that extra layer of thoughtfulness that I honestly typically have. In this case, it was truly just an oversight. So kind of threw a wrench in my day. I still have my regularly scheduled programming. Remember yesterday I said there's 4 layers, like the company's North Stars, the 4 to 6 things that you have to be doing, your regularly scheduled programming, and then any fires. This is a perfect example of like, this issue did not exist yesterday. I sent a tweet yesterday, and it kind of festered into a fire that pretty much is going to derail my day, and I have to spend my day. And it's not a huge fire by any means. Like, I've already made a few calls, I've quelled it, no big deal, but it still had a little bit of a jolty impact, and it has derailed my day, and I still have my regularly scheduled programming on top. So anyway, I'm going into the office now. I spent the morning on phone calls dealing with this. Now I'll go in, take a few of my meetings, which is some feedback sessions, customer experience stuff that you all recall was moved to today, and probably just a little bit more massaging of this, and then we'll call it a week. But I'll be back with you guys in a bit. But this is a fun one. It very accurately depicts what this whole thing is like. So I'm enjoying capturing it. But I'll see you guys soon. What? You got the flu? Oh shit! All right, I'm gonna stay away from you.
What's up? Oh, is this for the vlog?
It's for the vlog,
I'm
homie.
talking about rain or shine, baby.
What was that?
So you got an ATX?
I'm leaving Austin,
Tell me
dog.
you come and you inspire us, get us all hyped up.
I'm leaving Austin,
Staying
man.
too long in the insurance business. I need to do a balance.
That's so fun.
I think, especially for like the leads, people like Malik and Quinn and Lucy, that was really helpful. Especially Lucy, because Lucy uses the data dashboard for refunds and like we have P&OCs that we have. So if you can just easily click it from there, you got a one-stop shop. And I told all of them too. I was like, the goal for the agent portal is that you guys will use this, and Socotra will just house all of the information, but you'll use this to be able to actually do things. And they were really excited about like that goal for what the agent portal is supposed to be. So
a little bit aspirational, good if they're close to where we're at, but still opportunities here. So they should describe and they should feel authentic, but they can be a little bit aspirational too. So the first is on service, right?
Whew. Crisis averted. Got a chance to speak with everyone that I needed to speak to, and obviously I showed a few clips there. Also just moved on. I mean, the pace of startups is so fast. We had a chance to, we are like refining our cultural values. I know that stuff sounds somewhat hocus pocus, but in reality, it's the only way that you can scale making decisions in the company. If people are super clear about how you roll, why you pretty much how you roll, right? So your mission is your why, but the culture is like how you show up at work, right? Do you value courage and being bold and getting it done and speed or respect, whatever it is. So every time you go through like kind of a crisis moment, which I would say 2023 was kind of a hard year, you stress test your values. We pretty much learned that the values that we had on the wall and how we acted in the moment of difficulty were not congruent. So we're taking the time at the top of the year to make them congruent and reset it with the whole with kind of the whole company and get everyone clear and kind of get going. So we did some of that. We also did some, we also did our member experience pod, which is essentially the frontline teams and the product teams meeting together. I find that to be a very important feedback loop. Otherwise, you run the risk of your product people, your engineers, your tech people kind of being in a silo and potentially not hearing feedback directly from customers. So we make sure that our frontline teams, whom are people literally on the phone with our members, get a chance to speak directly to our product people, our engineers, and our product analysts, our product managers, and so on. That way you can always make sure that what you're working on is actually important. And then, of course, we had all of the PR stuff somewhat sandwiched in there. So, yeah, pretty eventful day. Getting ready to, for those that know, or maybe some don't, I keep the Sabbath. So every Friday at sundown, I don't do any work. And I somewhat adopted that as a way to keep my sanity. All throughout my 20s, I worked literally all 7 days a week, probably close to 10 hours a day on average. Some days 14, some days 6 to 8. But 10 days on average a week, or a day, every day, all 7 days from when I was 18 all the way up and through when I was 30. And then when I turned 30, I'm 31 now. So when I turned 30, I know I said I was 30 in the first episode, but I'm 31. I just turned 31, so I forgot. When I turned 30, I decided, I was like, dude, I need more regular intervals of shutting off. And I don't want it to be like a vacation twice a year. That's not what this is. This is like a regulation of your nervous system when you have no human boss for 24 hours. I'm not answering the emails and so on. It doesn't mean that there aren't things that need to get done. It just means that for this 24 hours, from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday, I'm going to let my nervous system relax. Which means I don't do chores. I don't go out and transact, and I'm like truly just recouping. And that practice has been very helpful to me. It's a religious practice for many. it's somewhat religious for me. It's definitely a spiritual practice for me. I don't belong to any one organized religion. Just something that's kind of was on my heart and I felt was right to do, and so I kind of started doing. So anyway, Fridays yeah, it's great. It's the wrap, the end of the week, and then it's kind of Saturday night. It'd be lying if I said I kind of like ramp right back into it. But Sunday, I start to take as kind of, I definitely take a couple hours to plan, and I start my weekday, my business week on Sundays. So I work 6 days a week. Sunday's a light day of just planning, 5 intense days plus 1 light day. So 6 days a week. But yeah, let me quickly get my life together, and then we'll close out the vlog, and we'll call it week 1. Not bad, not bad. Now, as for the PR nightmare, not much there to discuss. Basically, I just made my rounds and spoke to all the stakeholders that probably should have known in the first place. So I spoke to our internal team members, our investors, our partners, and that's all it was. Of all the things and fires that we go through, that's one of the easier ones to resolve because there was nothing. There was nothing there. But good reminder that optics matter, and that when you're at the helm of a company, you do have to consider how your words are going to be taken. But yeah, one of the easier fires to put out, and not really a fire. It's kind of like a fire drill, but it was fun to go through the motions of a fire drill. Kind of like when you're in school and there's a fire drill. It's a little exciting, There's no real threat of any harm, but you get a quick break from all the things that you have to do, and then if but for nothing else, reminds you that when there's an actual fire, you somewhat have the muscle memory of like respond fast, do the things you got to do, reach out to people, and it's good to keep those muscles sharp. So yeah, that's it. I'm trying to think here. How does next week change, if at all? Well, speaking of like what set this whole thing off in the first place, I did announce I was moving from Austin. So I like it here. Just as I said at the top, wasn't home. So we'll be moving in the next 2 weeks. Gonna go up north for a little bit, spend some time with my parents, and then maybe just bounce around different cities and maybe kind of get a furnished Airbnb in different places and try on some different cities. Honestly, I haven't lived in many places. I've been to many places, haven't lived in many places. So I might try Atlanta. I like Miami. I could give Miami a shot. Dallas, I don't know, man. I don't see myself coming back to Texas to live. But yeah, I'm going to try out a few different things and kind of see what to call home next. But of course, that is difficult to do. I know many of you watch this for the realities of being a founder, and it is difficult to think about and plan through personal life stuff, like where am I going to live, getting an apartment, a house, whatever, all that stuff, when you're also running, a fast-paced venture-backed startup. That's how I got in this position in the first place, right? Like, I'm moving in 2 weeks. I haven't even really thought about it. It is true that a lot of the things in your regular life somewhat fall by the wayside. Which personally I'm okay with. Like, I don't need to have my year fully planned out or anything like that. I'm not that kind of guy. But where I would say that it kind of went too far was, for a long time, I also let my health go into that category. Now, thankfully, I don't suffer from any like ailments, and I don't, that kind of stuff. But when I say my health, like I wasn't eating well at all. I was very underweight, not doing any exercise, and when I turned 30, in addition to doing this habit, the other kind of habit that I took on was more regular exercise. I worked that in, and if some administrative stuff, parts of my life fall off by the wayside, fine. I'm at peace with that. But even that, in those areas, I probably should improve now that I'm pretty much a grown ass man now. So I got to make sure I'm tending to those matters. But definitely your health should not, other things are negotiable. Your health should not be. And also your company should not be, if you're committed to being on this ride in this rodeo, which, the way I view it is when you take venture money and you kind of go on that ride, it's a 10-year ride. It's a 10-year commitment. So I'm still very much committed to it. And as long as you are and you're in that seat, then you got to make sure that it's a very, very big priority in your life. Doesn't have to be the biggest priority because, people are religious, people have their family, people, who am I to say what should be your biggest priority? But I would say it's definitely, I would say it's definitely like priority one. It's got to be priority one, I feel like, family's number one, but that kind of should be the case with everybody. But family one, and then two has to be the business. Otherwise, fucking return people's money and go do some other shit. Go live a lifestyle. Which by the way, I'm not judging because there are times when I absolutely would love that. And maybe there'll be a time when I'll have that. But I'm more partial to or more sensitive to, if you're gonna be in the seat, be in the seat, and if you're not in the seat, then go live your life however you want to live your life. But you can't be half pregnant. It doesn't work. You won't find success. And anyway, I don't want this to turn into some kind of motivational rant or some very opinionated view of what how you should roll, because frankly everyone's going to roll how they roll. And how I think about it is, as long as I'm in this seat, I'm going to be giving it 100%. That doesn't mean I'm going to be at 100% every day, because energy levels vary and things crest and wane, but I'm committed in heart, soul, and spirit to getting this done as long as I'm in this seat. And if I feel for a sustained period of time that my heart's not in it, and I know that it's not a phase, let's say, then I would gladly step down and hand the reins somewhere else. And in that way, it's very much like being a high-performance athlete. You got to make sure you're eating well, sleeping well, performing well, committed, in order to have any chance at getting into the playoffs and maybe even getting a chip. So with that, I am really enjoying making these like crazy. They're super simple for me. It's very sustainable. It's not taxing to my day. And I keep checking because the battery's about to die. And we're just gonna keep doing these. So stay locked in with me. I'll stay locked in with you, and happy to take any suggestions I want to hear about. But as you can see, it's mostly just like going through the motions, and hopefully, I think in that way we'll probably cover everything that you wanna kind of know about. So, all right, guys, signing off. Shabbat shalom. Peace.